Broncos Country. Rise up. The tension is reaching a boiling point around one specific unit on this team. We are talking about a squad that drained the budget, fueled anger, and split the fan base. Though some claim the tide is turning, skeptics still see a glaring flaw masking itself in the open. But digging into the stats reveals a far deeper reality. Hold up, though. Before we dive deep, I need a roll call of the diehards who ride or die with this franchise. Smash that like button if you have bled orange for over 20 years. Nothing beats seeing veterans and rookies standing shoulder to shoulder. Drop a comment right now shouting "Go Broncos" to prove your loyalty runs deep in those orange and blue veins. Time to flex that fan muscle. Meanwhile, the burning inquiry haunting the front office is whether the trenches are truly fixed or if we are doomed to repeat the nightmare. The previous campaign ripped the Band-Aid off some seriously painful truths. Moments of solid coverage were overshadowed by sequences where the walls just completely crumbled. Ben Powers finds himself in the crosshairs. His early output frankly failed to justify the massive paycheck he secured. Everyone from the nosebleeds to the film room saw it. Stumble out of the gate as the supposed anchor, and the glare of scrutiny burns hot. Yet, as the weeks ground on, the ship steadily began to right itself. That gradual turnaround often flies under the radar when the narrative is already set. While never overpowering and occasionally manhandled due to his reliance on technique over raw strength, he represented a clear upgrade from the turnstiles we fielded before. That subtle distinction is exactly what renders this argument absolutely captivating, and the plot thickens when you widen the lens. Finding a reliable guard on the open market has been a curse since Louis Vasquez in 2012. We have spent more than 10 years chasing that ghost. From the Max Garcia days to the Barbre experiment and the Graham Glasgow gamble, every signature brought a flicker of optimism. Every deal cost us serious cap space, yet not a single one delivered the dominant impact Vasquez brought to the table. We stand at the precipice once more. Does the brass trust Powers as a cornerstone, or is he merely the latest verse in a broken record? Furthermore, how does this piece fit into the grand design? Navigating the futures of Garett, Bolles, and Lloyd Cushenberry is a minefield. Extending the center demands clearing significant financial hurdles. The coffers are running low, brutal cuts are looming, and passing the torch might be the only move left. Ben Powers, manning the left guard spot, became a lightning rod for criticism throughout the last campaign. Early on, the disparity between the hype and his on-field product was glaringly obvious. Seeing defenders walk him straight back into the quarterback was maddening given the mountain of cash stacked in his locker. The consensus is clear. His initial showing fell woefully short of his price tag, a fact that did not escape the faithful. Shelling out big bucks for an interior lineman carries the expectation of an immovable object who brings it every single snap. That reliability was visibly absent in the opener, though he did manage to find his footing as the schedule wore on. He never reached elite status. But the upward trajectory is a crucial detail we cannot ignore. Crowds often fixate on the initial stumbling blocks, missing the moment a guy actually starts to lock it down. Powers failed to dominate in either phase of the game and occasionally got tossed around like a rag doll. His reliance on technique over nastiness sometimes backfires. Yet he still eclipsed the catastrophic play we endured in previous years. Precisely here is where the narrative takes a fascinating turn. Denver has historically struck out swinging when trying to buy interior protection. You have to rewind all the way to 2012 and Louis Vasquez to find a check that actually cashed in wins. That man was a titan, racking up accolades and paving the road to multiple championship appearances. Ever since, we have been burning money chasing that high, cycling through Garcia, Barbre, Glasgow, and now Powers with diminishing returns. The recurring theme is mediocre output compared to the heavy expense, which is a fatal flaw when constructing a championship squad within a tight budget. Guard play isn't sexy, but it is the absolute engine that dictates whether your scoring attack lives or dies. Ben Powers also battles a perception problem. Critics are often blinded by the dollar signs before they even break down the film. Basically, the salary creates a standard that colors every evaluation. Slash his pay in half, and most pundits would likely argue he had a solid outing in 2023. It is a wild perspective that demands we strip away the bias. But the uncertainty extends far beyond the left guard spot as massive choices approach. The fate of Garett, Bolles hangs in the balance, but the real mystery surrounds Lloyd Cushenberry. Bringing Cushenberry back presents a massive financial hurdle as the salary cap tightens. Keeping the entire squad simply isn't feasible. Eventually, a choice must be made on when to usher in a new era, demanding surgical precision from the executives. Big earners like Powers must justify their paycheck immediately because the window for mistakes has all but vanished. If Denver is truly committed to constructing a championship contender, the offensive front cannot settle for mediocrity. They must be reliable, imposing, and dominant, which is exactly why this juncture is absolutely pivotal. Does Ben Powers fit the future blueprint? And can his performance finally equal the massive investment? Alternatively, must the franchise completely revolutionize their strategy regarding interior line expenditures? Stepping back to view the bigger picture reveals this concerns team identity rather than a single athlete. Can they establish lasting stability in the trenches rather than applying temporary fixes annually? A cycle that has persisted for ages. They have failed to find reliable success with free agent guards ever since the era of Louis Vasquez ended. This is no minor footnote. It is a 10-year trend that keeps sparking serious doubts. Consider the reality that following Vasquez, we endured seasons plagued by constant volatility. From Max Garcia to Barbre, the carousel spun endlessly, seeking a permanent fixture before expensive signings like Graham Glasgow and Ben Powers arrived. Every acquisition brought optimism that the puzzle was solved. Yet every outcome remained disappointingly inconsistent. Powers currently divides opinion, as his initial difficulties were glaringly obvious against the backdrop of his salary. Yet as the campaign progressed, a shift occurred. He found his footing and steadied the ship. While not dominant and occasionally bullied due to his technical approach, he represented a distinct improvement over prior options. Such subtle distinctions are vital, and this is precisely where the strategy becomes complex. Believing in his upward trajectory means anchoring the line with him, pushing him further, and tailoring the system to his strengths. However, if you suspect he has peaked, you confront a far more daunting challenge in roster construction. The issue extends beyond left guard, forcing questions about Bolles and the uncertain destiny of Lloyd Cushenberry. Extending Cushenberry is complicated, demanding the liberation of significant salary cap room. That is where the brutal reality sets in. Funding is finite. You cannot retain every veteran, and eventually, the mantle must be passed. Discussing this transition involves far more than just signing ink on paper. It signifies a fundamental shift in philosophy. Will Denver persist in fixing the guard spot via the open market? Or will they finally commit to homegrown talent development to foster organic stability from the inside? One fact is undeniable. Athletes earning top-tier wages on the line simply have to deliver top-tier results. Tight budgets leave zero margin for failure, as every cent spent in the trenches impacts flexibility elsewhere. Instability in the protection unit sends shockwaves through the entire offensive operation. Consequently, this offseason's choices regarding this unit might silently dictate the franchise's entire future path. Forget the viral news and superstar athletes. The offensive front is the bedrock, and this sector is precisely where the franchise's destiny will be decided. Assessing the line involves far more than simply grading their pass-blocking efficiency. You are judging the very heartbeat of the attack, as every scheme and play call relies entirely on confidence in that front five. Without that faith, options vanish. And when the pocket crumbles, the rhythm is destroyed. Constant failure up front renders the talent of your skill players completely irrelevant. Predictability kills the attack. Yet the verdict on Ben Powers remains frustratingly complex. His initial outings were visibly poor, particularly when weighed against the size of his paycheck. Supporters witnessed the pocket collapsing and rightly doubted the wisdom of that signing. Big money demands a dominant presence, but thankfully, his performance clearly leveled out as the weeks passed. This implies a crucial point. His potential remains untapped, and unit cohesion requires patience. Mastering the system is a process, and sinking the interior line demands constant reps. Sustained development could completely transform the public perception of him by next season. Yet the executives face a harsh truth. They cannot survive another expensive failure on the interior. History since Louis Vasquez in 2012 proves how agonizingly hard it is to match that standard. That legendary acquisition fueled championship runs and piled up awards, but a plague of inconsistency has haunted them ever since. Eras marked by Max Garcia and Barbre serve as painful symbols of that enduring volatility. Graham Glasgow was another failed bid for stability, and now Powers is being dissected under that same unforgiving lens. The franchise seems trapped in a ghost chase for past glory it cannot grasp, complicating an already massive financial riddle. Garett Bolles' status demands a verdict, while Lloyd Cushenberry's future hangs in the balance of salary cap math. Retaining Cushenberry mandates clearing the books, making this less about gridiron strategy and more about ruthless resource distribution. In this league, fiscal agility is the ruthless arbiter deciding if you can recruit elite talent for the lineup.